and welcome back to another episode on the Oak and Rock Fatherhood channel. I'm Zachary Small, joined by Anthony Miglerino. Anthony, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, Zach. How we doing today?
We're doing well, man. I'm doing really well. As parents, as fathers, we're constantly talking about the need for presence, the need to be there for your kids. And an important angle to this and a topic of today's discussion is being there for your kids for who they are and not who you want to mold them to be or who you think they should be, but who they actually are. And oftentimes it gets a little weird because when your kid is being authentic and an individual in a very conformist world, they really stand out very clearly. When you see that sea of blue and there's like one red dot, you're like, oh, that's that kid. You should want to raise kids like that. You should want to raise weird kids that have their own little quirks, their own little personality. They're not clones of all the other kids out there. So today we're going to talk about how you can support that, how you can stand behind it, but also why it's happening. Why are your kids weird? Why do kids do these weird things? And sometimes you're like, oh, that's a negative. It's a positive. So we're going to get into all that and more. But before we do, like, subscribe, share, let the other fathers know what's going on. Big shout out to all the dad Twitter guys who are constantly pushing content out there. We were having a chat with them the other day. A few more of them will be hopping on this channel. But for right now, it's Anthony and I rolling with Oak and Rock. Anthony, man, at what point did you realize raising weird kids is so much better than raising neutralized and numb kids who fit in everywhere?
Oh man, I think at what point did I realize? Once I started to embrace my own weirdness to a degree. Once I stopped wanting to fit in and be a part of things that were dysfunctional or normal. And I think my kids know that I'm weird. They actually do know I'm weird. I don't think
it's hard to not know you're weird, man. I think everybody knows you're weird.
No, and it's cool, right? I don't want to show my kids a false image, right? I don't want to try to pretend to be something that I'm not. And sometimes that is going to be weird, right? I'm going to be strange. I'm going to have weird thoughts, but I share those, right? I share my ideas. I share my thoughts. And what better way to build and shape and mold your family around being authentic, right? Around speaking your mind freely, openly, and honestly with people who love you. And I think to me, that's a big part of raising weird kids, right? Raising your kids who are really not afraid to be different, who don't want to just be a part of something to fit in. And I think that's where you'll get real connection, right? You'll get a real relationship with the people who you can show who you truly are, whether that's weird, strange, whether, we have this great divide in this country now about people with different and opposing views, and nobody can just get along. Nobody can accept each other for who they are. I don't want my kids to be a part of that, right? I want them to find people who accept them for who they are. And that starts in my home, right? If I don't accept the strange things my kids do, and not only accept them, but like promote it and say, yeah, go be strange, go be different. Don't always do what everybody else is doing. Go find your own path. So that starts in my home, and it's been like that for a long time. So it's something that has evolved over the years, and we've seen our kids grow and become their own individuals.
I'm really glad you took the angle you took, because now I can hit the other side of it. It always starts with your example. Your example, you living and embodying that and not just espousing that value, allows them to do the same. And then the way I was thinking about it is, as soon as my son, he was our firstborn, as soon as his personality came out, let's say around 2 or 3, when they're actually up and moving, they're doing their thing, everything was a bat. And people would give him other toys to play with, and he would throw the stuffed animal in the air and hit it. And everything was just a bat and a ball. And I'm like, that's a weird little kid. Like, he doesn't want to play with any toys like these other kids. And I was like, it's awesome. And people would tell him like, oh no, don't hit this. You got to play with like this. I'm like, no, go ahead, dude. Go ahead. Like, whatever. If you think that bear is a bat and that paper towel roll, is a bat and that bear is a ball, go hit it, man. And that was just the beginning of me realizing, like, no, we're not going to put these little buoys on him. Let him live in his world, how he wants to see it and what he wants that toy to be, because it's a toy. It's meant to be played with. And if the kid wants to throw it and hit it, as opposed to sit there and build this little civilization in his head, endorse that, embrace it. Like, let him go do his thing. It's supposed to be about fun. You don't give a toy and say, this has strict instructions, you must follow them to the T. It's a toy to a kid. Let's not forget that. And then when you're talking about yourself, man, I immediately was thinking there are a lot of parents who their kid has gone goth. Maybe they're wearing all the dark clothes and the dark makeup. I went a little ghetto. So I had like the FUBU matching outfits, dude, and like the velvet. Dude, I I was just like this little ghetto white kid, straight up middle class Rhode Island. I don't even know what the hell a ghetto was, but I saw it. I thought it was a cool look. I'd have my hat a little sideways, and my dad was just like, he just left it alone. He's like, all right, as long as you look clean. Like I was never busting a sag or anything, but I could wear whatever I wanted. My dad was just like, I guess that's popular now. So little gangster Zac is rolling around, dude. My dad is like, whatever. And that was awesome. And there wasn't much conflict there. And I could see, though, and we have dealt with this, when you're trying to maintain an image and the child is not following into what you have set down as your image. So if you're a squared away, like we had Tanner on here, if you're a rugged individual and your kid's always wearing suits and you're like, you don't wear suits or shirts. We're men. We go out in the woods. Well, what if your kid likes dressing up? Or vice versa. What if you like to dress up and your kid just wants to go in the woods to be a kid? And you're like, no, we've got to be squared away 24/7 because appearance is everything. Appearance is a lot, but appearance is a representation of what that child is into. It's a part of their tribe, what they're thinking, where they can belong. And these kids, when they're weird, that term comes with a negative connotation, like weird is bad. It's them being original. It's them being authentic. It's them going out and sharing, like, this is what I want to do and who I want to roll with and how I want to be perceived. And it makes me wonder how many parents are saying, live your authentic life, do everything I want you to do at the same time. How can you hold both of those beliefs? Be who you are as long as it's in line with what I want you to be. And that, I think, is where we're seeing conflict in families, is that weirdness, it's too weird or misunderstood by the parent, and they push back on it. And then the kid represses themselves to fit in.
Yeah. Well, it is about misunderstanding what your child's going through. It's not reading the signals. It's not being heightened or aware of what's really going on. And I think one of the worst things that we can do to a child is make them fit into the family system without being that example, right? Without really living with virtue and honesty and integrity, but expecting our kids to follow us or fit into that family system when there's really nothing good coming from it, right? And we can get into the screaming, the yelling, the anxiety, the stress, the punishment, all the negativity that we force on children because this is our home and we want to put on an image. So not only just fitting in with society, but allowing your home to be weird, allowing your home to just be this place where we can be free to express ourselves and we're not going to be judged. And if the expression becomes, let's say, addictive or hurtful, we can talk about it, right? We can address it and say, hey, what's going on? Instead of saying, we don't do that in our house. One thing, when you were describing your son, I just had this vision of Bam Bam from the Flintstones. I don't know.
Dude, that's exactly what it was,
right,
man.
I don't know if you were too young for that.
No, dude, he was Bam Bam. That's exactly, everybody said
That's
the
what I
same
was
thing.
thinking. Yeah, that's great. I will say, in order for there to be real acceptance and unconditional love in the home, where as a father, you can lead your family and you can do what you have to do, and it doesn't reflect on anybody else. Like if I go to the gym and I'm real concerned or focused about getting fit, all of my kids don't have to follow the same suit, right? They don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. I have 2 kids who go to the gym, and my other daughter, she does yoga. She's not into lifting weights, which is fine, right? We don't even see it as a problem or an obstacle. It's who she is. And it's the same thing. Like as a man in my home, I'm able to do what I want to do. I don't need acceptance from anybody. I don't need approval from anybody. It's just who I am. So you have that dynamic, your kids can live the same way, right? My kids can go out and do whatever they want, and they don't need approval from dad. They don't need to be, they don't need that false acceptance from dad. They can be who they are. And I'm going to embrace it. And I'm going to enjoy watching this take fold, right? I'm going to enjoy this process to see that they're going to push the boundaries, right? They're going to not only be weird, but they're going to be creative. They're going to get into their mind where that creativity starts to flow. And nobody's stopping them, right? Nobody's telling them, oh, that's stupid, you shouldn't do that. Or if they do tell them, they don't care, right? It's not effective. It's not bringing them down. And to some degree, I think not only is it not bringing them down, but it pushes them further, right? Because now you have something to prove. Now people are telling you what you're doing is weird or you're a strange kid. And if you're easily broken down, right? If you're broken down by your parents all the time, you'll believe it. If you're not, right, if your parents support you in that growth, it's going to push you to be hungrier. It's going to push you to be more driven, um, because you're not letting people affect what you do, right? You want to get that task done no matter what anybody says. So creativity is a key in developing your children to becoming their true self.
Well, I think that's also the groundwork has to be laid prior to that conflict. If I don't like the music my kids are listening to, or if I don't like, I'm trying to think of it, like I said, the you're dressing ghetto versus gothic, or you're starting to have you want to go hunting, or you want to do, I don't know what the hell you want to do. You have your own little thing that you want to do as an individual. If I do think it's causing harm, as long as the groundwork was laid prior to me saying, hey, the way you're dressing, so I have a daughter. Maybe like she's wearing clothes that I think aren't appropriate or like just not for the occasion. Prior to, I've had all these discussions. I speak very openly with my kids about almost everything. I mean, when I say almost, like literally everything up to their age appropriateness. I have nothing that's off the table. So I would go up to her like, hey, hey, little lady, for this, I don't think that's the right thing to wear here. And I don't believe, we've never had this happen. So this is all in my head. I think she'd be like, all right, like I have to change. I've had them change for the temperature. Hey, it's really cold. I'd go throw some pants on. It's not shorts weather. Oh, I'm going to wear it. Come outside with me. All right, now go back inside. And now they're like, oh yeah, good idea. So as long as you are on that level of discussion and understanding, that pushback won't be immediate. But if you're critiquing them all the time, always on their ass, you need to do this and this and this. And if you don't do this perfectly, you're making me look bad and there's a problem. Then when you say, hey, I would like you to change your clothes, it's just another thing. It's just another tick in that column. And so the fathers who've done that up to this point and hear us say this, they might be like, this is bullshit. Every time I talk to my kid about what I would like them to do, it's pushed back immediately. They're pissed off. They're angry. And I've realized since, giving advice on family and parenting, that there has to be almost a disclaimer added that this is working in my family because of the work I've done prior to. And if you're starting on this journey, even if it's peaceful parenting, if you're starting on that journey, you have to sort of integrate your way up to that level where you can just speak about it. You have to say, hey, I know you're looking to wear this, and here's what I'm thinking about that. It doesn't have to be father to kid direct conflict. Hey, here's what I think. Still make your choice, but here's where I'm coming from. You might have more success if you start that way and work your way in and have the discussion, as opposed to, for me at this level, I could just say what I think and my kids know, all right, dad's coming at this angle for this reason, and that's a little element to this. Because if you tell your kid, hey, I don't want you wearing these giant black hoodie and giant black pants with black clothes and black makeup because we're going to somebody's wedding. You're trying to impress me, Dad. No, I'm really not. I love you to death. I love everything you're doing. This just isn't an appropriate occasion for you to be literally a walking black cloud. But if you're going to wear it, fuck it. Let's go. And honestly, that's how the conversation would go with me. I would be like, look, why are we doing this? You're like, we're going to this thing. This is more aligned with what I would like to do. But if they were really like stuck to like, this is me, this is what I want to wear, I'm like, all right, cool. These photos are going to be awesome in 5 years. And you look back and be like, oh shit, I don't know why I was rocking that. And
Dad,
like I said, dude, I had the matching
do that,
Dad. Yeah. So I'll be like, hey, remember this conversation. But I think there is an element to this where you put the work in, it's a little bit easier. If you're starting out, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to kind of tweak them without them feeling like you're just trying to control them.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the biggest elements to this is the preparation prior, right? The child that we're raising and that we're building. You were talking about appropriate clothing and for a young lady. I have 2 daughters, and I will tell you that for a child to not feel accepted, right? That's a really uncomfortable feeling, especially from your parents. So when we see our kids, or especially our daughters, dressing inappropriately, we know as adults, right? They're doing it for attention, whether it's from the opposite sex or it's to impress their peer group. It's clear as day. That's why they're dressing maybe provocative, or they want attention. They want eyes on them. So the prevention on that part comes in early on, right? This is when we accept our kids for who they are. And then, when they're little, no matter what it may be, it's weird if they want to eat bugs, if they want to, pick their nose, whatever they're doing, we embrace it, we accept it, and we allow them to just be free. when they get older, they're not going to need that attention, right? They're gonna have more confidence. It's actually a self-esteem issue. So they're going to feel good about who they are. So that's why this is important, right? To embrace that weirdness, to allow your children to have expression, really, to really express who they are, and not let it affect you in a negative, right? Not see it as, oh, I'm not a good dad, or we're not good parents. Look at our kids. And parents do this a lot with behavior, right? If you go out and you see parents and their kids are acting wild or crazy, acting how kids should act, they get embarrassed. And what do? They lash out, they get angry, they get frustrated, they get stressed out. And really all that is a little signal to your kid like, hey, shut up, you're embarrassing me, right? I'm not comfortable with the way you're behaving and it's affecting me negatively. So if you can break down that barrier, whether it's with behavior or dressing appropriately, you'll find at a young age that your kid gets it, right? They learn this. This is something they have to learn through developing. And when they get older, when they're in their teenage years, I honestly never had a conversation with my daughters about dressing inappropriately, right? They get it. They know. They know that they don't have to dress in skimpy outfits to get attention. Um, and even if they might have dressed a little provocative, it doesn't bother me, right? They're beautiful young women. I let them do what they have to do, but they know, right? They have this sense of self, so they know when they're pushing that boundary or when it might be inappropriate. So it's an important lesson.
So we're on probably one of the most uncomfortable subjects for fathers of daughters, and this is it's just the way it is, man. Like, this is the world. This is just how it works. If you can't have this conversation or you're not mature enough to have it, you really need to, there's a lot more. Just go to FOE right now. Like, you need to work on being a better man, being a better father. Let's just become a better man. You need to be able to talk about your daughter the way that's not, oh, we can't speak on this, bro. Like, straighten the fuck up and fix yourself. Like, this is men doing men's work. But now let's look at the flip side. Let's look at sons doing effeminate things. We get a lot of dads. My son was playing with dolls. My son was, dressing up. My son was doing this and that. And they want to beat masculinity into him. And it's so far from this. There's this hyper focus on every little thing a child does, as to that somehow is dictating everything they do for the rest of their days. Bro, if your 5-year-old is playing with a doll, like my 5-year-old son, the dolls become a bat. I can't stress that enough. Like, he didn't play with toys. So I never had this issue. I never crossed this bridge. My son literally never played with G.I. Joes. He never played anything. He barely plays video games. It was just baseball. And that was his thing, but for the men going through this, I have seen, guys get hyper focused that they're afraid that their son's going to be weak, that their son's not going to be prepared for the world, and all of these things. And I can't help but recognize the absolute missing of the mark that's happening there. Your kid's interested. Who gives a shit what that something is? Your kid's not sitting there like, hey, I want to play with these syringes, all these needles that are on the floor. Like, yeah, save them from that. But you don't need to save your kid from wanting to play with a puppy or wanting to play with a doll. Like, he's a child just playing with things. I don't remember who it was, but on Twitter, somebody said, they see a son play with a doll and they think their kid's trans, as if somehow that's their sexuality. And she's like, yo, my brother would eat grass sometimes. Is he a cow? And dude, awesome. I was like, it was so perfect, because I'm like, it's so dumb, yet it highlights the issue so much. That the same thing when you're looking at your daughters and you're like, all right, if they're dressing a certain way and you're like, why you're doing this. We've had the work, and you can use it as a tool to get to. There's a lot of uses of how we dress and what we do. And for sons, there's a lot that goes on to being a man that has nothing to do with lifting weights or shooting guns. You can't overlook, the things that are right in front of you. Yeah. And to your daughter, you can't beat, appropriateness into them. You can't beat that and like, all right, you're going to be a well-dressed girl because I'm going to hit the shit out of you if you don't. Or I'm going to scream and yell. I'm going to lock you in the castle. Bro, she's going to disappear. She's going to hide everything from you. Your son, you're going to beat the masculinity out of him because you're saying, don't be who you are. Be who your father allows you to be. And then as he ages, that turns into government. Be who the government allows you to be.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you right now, dude, it's fucking weird to my peer group that I have a clothing line, that I do this for a living, and that I drink out of fucking a Santa Claus cup. I do the shit that I'm fucking doing, man, and I don't give a fuck. If my dad beat the shit out of me every time I did something that was out of line, there would be no family alpha. There would be no fraternity of excellence. There would be no forebear clothing code. There'd be no Santa Cup right here. And you and I would not be talking. My life would be stuck to whatever he allowed me to be. My dad's like, do your thing, man. Like I said, I'm fucking middle-class white boy wearing FUBU because I wanted to fit in with some of my friends. And we thought it was cool online.
I'm going to need some photo evidence of that.
Jackie probably has some.
And don't forget, you forgot to mention that before we started this podcast, you had a little kitten on your shoulder, just to throw that in there.
You know, when you're operating the masculine, the manosphere, you know, the masculine space, and you're the dude talking about kids and kittens and shit, people think you're a little weird. But then you show the fuck up and people are like, oh, I get it.
Hell yeah.
That weirdness is actually this dude doing whatever the hell he wants, which is the point.
And not giving a fuck what anybody says.
And look at what these men who have broken out of that have been able to do.
Yeah.
It's only because they weren't afraid to be different.
Yep.
That they were able to rise up. So our sons and daughters, if you're beating it out of them now, you can't expect them to step up later. You get them comfortable with new things. You know, my son, he plays trombone in the middle school band. Bro, I've never seen a trombone until he brought it home. I've never played it. I've never seen a kid play it. I played the drums. I had 2 wooden sticks I hit shit with. You know, trumpet, that's normal. Drums is normal. Saxophone, maybe piano. My kid comes home with a trombone. I'm like, that is so badass. Like, that is so out of nowhere. And he loves it, dude. What if he was afraid that if he came home with something that wasn't perfect, dad would get mad?
Yeah.
He wouldn't be he has the time of his life with that damn thing. It's really impressive to watch. You know, and it's because he wasn't afraid to be weird.
Can he even carry it?
Dude, it's the size of him. The thing's huge. It's nuts.
No, I mean, look, we're doing what we do, Oak and Rock Fatherhood, to bring some awareness and attention to what it means to be a good father. And getting back to the son aspect, right? How we raise our sons. And imagine, to me, that's crazy to if your son plays with a doll, to think that he's going to become transgender or he's going to become feminine. We're literally talking to men and we're teaching them, we're telling them how to be better fathers. When your son is playing with a doll, he has a natural instinct to take care of a baby. This is what we're seeing. It's masculine. There's nothing feminine about it, right? It doesn't make him a sissy or it doesn't make him a fairy. It makes him a strong little boy who cares about babies, who cares about a child. And that's going to develop to when he becomes a father, right? He's going to have that connection. Like, hey, you're going to be soft and gentle with a baby. Most men don't know how to do that, right? I honestly struggled with it being a father when my daughter first was born. It was just weird. It was foreign to me, right? I have this little tiny human I got to take care of, and I have to, you know, put my greasy, dirty hands on it and not hurt it and make it cry. And, you know, I didn't know how to hold a baby. So, but what better way to encourage our kids, especially our sons, to embrace that, man? That's part of fatherhood. And I don't think we should ever criticize it or demean it. It should be emphasized, right? It should be, we should look at our boys and say, yeah, man, that's cool, right? We need to take care of the babies. We need to take care of the young.
Well, what's the real fear, though? What's the underlying tone? It's 2 things, in my opinion. I believe you're afraid that your son is going to be gay. There's a fear. There's the homophobic, you know, like, oh, if he's gay, like I have failed somehow. And the second one is he's going to be weak.
Yeah.
I'm raising a weak boy. I want a boy who plays football and hits kids and fights and whatever. You know, I'm a kid. He's not gay. You know, I'm not raising some gay. What's wrong with you? Why are you so afraid of him being weak? Like, if you raise him, if you're giving him your absolute best, how could you even think that's a possibility? There's no way. If my kid's gay, whatever. But there's no way he's going to be weak. We do too much. He's already shown too much strength and bravado and just ability to stand up against people. He stands up against me. And I'm a pretty imposing authority, dude. Like, I'm the dad, you know, I have the voice, I have this level of energy. And he'll be like, no, Dad, what do you think about this? And I love it. I love to see it because I'm like, all right, let's have this discussion. I don't shut it down. I love the fact that he's willing to stand, because if he can stand against me, he'll stand against anybody else trying to do the same. So there's no fear inside me at all that my kid will be weak. And if he were gay, again, whatever, dude, you're not going to use your sexual preference as a means to replace anything in your identity. You don't act gay. You don't do gay. Like, you're okay, cool. You like dudes. You better work out, be smart, be healthy, be wealthy, and keep doing what we've been working on. You just have a dude you're hanging out with instead of a chick. I don't care. When you have a chick, I wouldn't care. Like, that's you, man. Like, you do you. So those two fears, man, they really stick out to men. And I think it's because those men were weak or still are weak. And it's a projection.
Yeah.
You can't be what I am because I fucking hate myself. Well, dude, you need to fix that before you start pushing it onto your kid. It's like you're going to turn him into the thing that you don't want him to become.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even think it's a fear of being weak. It's men being weak. It's self-proclamation, right? They're already stating that they're weak. And that's what we talk about all the time, how strong men don't need to impose their will on little children, right? We don't need to force them to do things. We don't need to demand that they listen to us. A strong man is confident in his mission. He's confident in his words. So he's going to find the best words to convince, negotiate, and communicate with his kids. A weak man is going to use threats, is going to use punishment. And it's the same thing, right? Because all you're doing is pushing your kid down so they have no identity, right? They're there to please dad. They're there to be whoever dad says. And that goes back to embracing the weirdness, right? Allowing your kid to just be whoever the hell they want to be, right? If they want to have imaginary friends, if they want to have an imagination, if they want to make up stories and tell tall tales and be creative, enjoy it, right? It's only going to happen one time. It's only going to happen in their childhood, unless they became completely crazy as an adult. Then you'll have it your whole life. But it's there. So I would definitely recommend to fathers to embrace it and to encourage it to a degree, right? Encourage the craziness. Encourage your kid to be wild, especially our sons. I think that's what they need. They need to be pushed forward in a way where we're saying, hey, dude, it's okay to not fit in this box. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to act differently. It's okay to get upset. It's okay to get angry, right? We're always trying to suppress everything. And we wonder why these kids are going out into the world and their reality is so distorted, right? How can you understand how the world works if you don't understand how you work? So acceptance, unconditional love, that is for all the young fathers with young children. This is how we start the process of preparing our children to be successful in life, not just financially or physically, but emotionally, right? Allow them to accept themselves and go out and set their path.
And I think it's the only way to set them up for success. And with that, that's our aim here. There is nobody that you can think of that wasn't weird to their peers that you now look up to. I'm trying to think of some names that weren't coming across as weird. And it's like, think of guys like CT Fletcher. That dude became like the workout guy. It's a little fucking weird to see a dude screaming at his muscles, right? And having a heart attack and going back at the gym. Even within like my peer group, I'm looking at the dudes that I started out and were rolling with. You don't think it's weird that Jack Murphy got swatted and just kept pushing forward and now has one of the top political blogs out there and podcasts out there? Look at Ed Lattimore. The dude was a boxer and a physicist who all of a sudden started going out and crushing Twitter. That's weird. AJ Cortez, the dude looks like a walking Jesus. And he went out there and just started doing his own thing and saying, fuck the system. I'm going to do it my way. That's fucking weird. And each of these men I've watched just bloom and grow and have great success. You want to roll with dudes who do weird things, productive weird things, constructive weird things. Those are the people you want to be with. I haven't seen Anthony wear sleeves in fucking forever. I see the dude come out of New York and he's talking about being a peaceful father. That's fucking weird. It's weird, dude. But it's the right kind of weird. If you were trying to be like everybody else, we couldn't be doing this because you wouldn't be able to come to this level and meet me. And then let's go forward with this message. There's no way, because you'd be like, oh, what if my friends and family, they think it's strange? I don't want to do. If they can't keep up, they get left behind. Set your kids up for that kind of success. Set them up to wanting to be weird and finding men and women who are going to be weird in a constructive way. That's your job as a dad. And that's what we're looking to do here in Oak and Rock. Like, subscribe, share, get a little weird with your kids, and embrace that unique, authentic nature that they have. It's been another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood.